Have you ever wondered what it's like to spend a day on a planet where the sunrise lasts 176 Earth days, or where the winds scream at 1,200 miles per hour? From the scorching surface of Mercury to the icy gales of Neptune, we're diving into the wildest day trips the solar system has to offer. Welcome to Futuristic Findings. Buckle up as we embark on this journey. The Sun. Of course, the Sun isn't a planet, but for a convenience, let's start our journey there. For those who dream of traveling and vacationing on the Sun, there's some good news and some bad news. Let's begin with the good. Randall Munroe, a former engineer and NASA cartoonist, believes this trip is technically possible, albeit for a very short period of time. Imagine traveling to the edge of the Sun for just 1 nanosecond and then immediately returning to Earth. The trip would reach the chromosphere, a layer of the Sun with temperatures around 5,500 degrees Celsius, which would mark the tolerable limit. Interestingly, even though you'd see the Sun during that brief moment, your eyes and brain wouldn't process the image until about 30 milliseconds after you have already returned to Earth. In that nanosecond, the amount of heat received would be thousands of times less than touching the flame of a butane lighter for a second. That's the good news. Now the bad, not even a nanosecond would be feasible. The instant the spacecraft approaches that comfortable zone in the chromosphere, it would be completely vaporized. After all, the temperature in the solar corona ranges from 1 to 2 million degrees Celsius, turning any attempt to visit it into a fatal experience, like a cosmic grill. Mercury. Mercury, the planet closest to the Sun, is an extreme world, with an almost non-existent atmosphere, intense solar radiation, and temperatures ranging from negative 180 degrees Celsius to 430 degrees. Despite this, its rocky surface has a certain appeal. Who knows, we might even find a way to have some fun here, don't you think? Interestingly, there is a relatively tolerable temperature zone near the line that separates light from darkness. But would it be feasible to live in this region? Could we at least spend a full day on Mercury? This question is particularly challenging since a solar day on the planet lasts 176 Earth days due to its slow rotation. So, let's imagine staying as long as possible. The maximum we could endure would be the lifespan of oxygen, which would be around 2 minutes. Well, considering there are worse places in the universe, it wouldn't be all that bad, right? Venus. Venus, the second planet from the Sun, is the hottest planet in the solar system. Its temperature is 464 degrees Celsius. If you've ever been in a greenhouse, you can probably understand why Venus is hotter than Mercury. A dense atmosphere of carbon dioxide gases with an outer layer of sulfuric acid clouds, sulfur gases, and chlorine creates this greenhouse effect. Venus also has a high pressure, equivalent to 92 times that of Earth. On Earth, this pressure would be felt at a depth of 900 meters underwater, but it's best to avoid this without a submersible. In fact, it's better not to visit Venus at all, because on its surface, humans would be crushed, burned, and simultaneously dissolved by the sulfuric acid rain. In other words, surviving more than a second would be impossible. Earth. We can say that the third planet from the Sun was made exclusively for human beings. It's possible to spend more than one day in most places on Earth, and there are many locations where you'd want to stay longer. How happy and comfortable would you feel on this planet? That would be a philosophical question, right? It is said that a French woman named Jean-Louise Calment lived for 122 years and 164 days on Earth. This is even a world record. Mars. In the search for suitable locations for extraterrestrial colonies, Mars is a place that is attracting a lot of human attention. This also ties into the story of Martians, which was popular 100 years ago. Another reason we focus on Mars is that it has a relatively comfortable temperature, ranging from negative 110 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees. It wouldn't exactly be a Bali beach, but it's a pretty decent place compared to other planets. But would it be possible to live here for even one day? And the answer is no. Mars has almost no atmosphere, just a thin veil of carbon dioxide. And it wouldn't just be the lack of oxygen that would be an issue. Even if you had an oxygen tank, it wouldn't be much help because your bodily fluids would boil. The atmospheric pressure on Mars is less than 1 kilopascal. At this atmospheric pressure, the boiling point of water is far lower than the body's temperature. So your tears, saliva, and sweat would instantly boil. People would begin to suffocate and also develop symptoms of hypercapnia or carbon dioxide poisoning. Humans would quickly lose consciousness, and their circulatory system would stop functioning. So without special equipment to maintain pressure, you'd survive for a maximum of 90 seconds on Mars. Elon Musk, should we really visit Mars? I think we need to think more seriously about that. Jupiter. The planets we've seen so far in the solar system all have at least one solid surface. But with Jupiter, we enter the realm of giant gas planets. A trip here would feel like falling constantly until being crushed by immense pressure, which wouldn't be a surprise. Jupiter is the heaviest planet in the solar system, with a mass 318 times greater than Earth's. Additionally, this massive body spins so fast that its day and night only last about 10 hours. Although much shorter than Mercury, it's not possible to experience the privilege of walking on stone blocks to fully feel Jupiter's gravity. You'd have to get a bit closer to the planet. First, we'd have to cross the radiation belt, which is no easy task. For example, the Galileo probe, as it approached Jupiter, was exposed to more than 25 times the radiation dose, which would be lethal to humans. So humans could only reach Jupiter alive if they had good protection against radiation. But let's assume the radiation and gravity problems were miraculously solved. Living beings from Earth would begin to fall into the atmosphere, which is made up of hydrogen and helium. Strong winds blow at hundreds of meters per second. The temperature at the top of the atmosphere is about 700 degrees Celsius. But as you go deeper, it drops to negative 150 degrees and then rises again to 190 degrees. The Galileo spacecraft was destroyed at an altitude of less than 132 kilometers and a pressure of 1 bar. Obviously, humans wouldn't even get that far to begin with. If a human fell into Jupiter, their life would last less than a second. According to Dr. Jennifer Glass from the Georgia Institute of Technology, humans would have a peaceful death in such cases. Unlike Venus and Mars, Jupiter's atmosphere contains almost no carbon dioxide, so they wouldn't suffer from hypercapnia before losing consciousness. They would simply fall unconscious toward the bottom of the atmosphere. But even if a human miraculously reached the center of Jupiter, it would be like having 160,000 cars piled on top of them. In an instant, it would be the end for this test subject, who would feel absolutely nothing. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The same thing that happens with Jupiter also applies to Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. On any gas giant planet, humans can only survive for less than a second, making any attempt to visit them pointless. It would be more interesting to focus solely on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. On these moons, there's still a possibility of conditions that could support the evolution of life. For example, these might include Ganymede, Enceladus, Europa, Titan. It certainly won't be as comfortable without special equipment, but there would be some chance of survival. Who knows, in the distant future, one of these moons might become our second home.